Hi, and welcome to the Jim Ruff Show. Today I'm here with Darlene Durfee, who's the president of the Port Townsend Peace Movement, or the Peace Group. And Darlene is consented to be here and talk to me today about what the Peace Movement is about. And we're going to have kind of a back and forth a little bit because I want to also talk about the Wisdom Council and how that relates to the Peace Movement. So welcome, Darlene.
Thank you. Thank you for asking me to be here.
Yeah. Tell me a little bit about what you see as the problem. Why is there need to be a peace movement, and what your hopes are?
Okay. Seems like the reason for a peace movement is fairly evident today. We're in a war in Iraq that we don't believe we should be there or ever should have been there, and beyond that there are many problems, and obviously we in the peace movement are progressive liberals, and we have a lot of problems with the administration, the political scene today. However, our hopes, we have high hopes, and we're hoping that the world, and the pendulum is gradually moving back. We think people are starting to wake up from their comfortable sleep, and our job, I believe, in the peace movement is to wake them up, is to keep them aware, to make them aware of what's really happening. Because I think if they're not upset, then they're not listening. So that's what I see as our real job in the peace movement, is simply to increase awareness.
And I saw a good illustration of that, I think, this week, where a number of people, maybe 50 people from the peace movement, showed up at the Chamber of Commerce,
Yes.
where there was a presentation by the local captain, I think,
Kurtz, yes.
yeah, who was describing the local base.
Right.
And interestingly, your just presence, I guess you were just going to be there as witnesses, I think. And I noticed in the paper you mainly expressed concern about safety.
Yes.
Which everybody should be worried about, I think. But there was also a strong group that felt defensive,
Yes.
carrying American flags, and also present there, here at a Chamber of Commerce meeting. And
Yes.
the two groups sitting there kind of polarized, keeping kind of a polarized spirit alive, almost like a war.
Yeah, unfortunately, that's the way our nation is today.
Yeah.
We're very, very polarized, very divided. And we do have concerns about Indian Island, and I won't even go there.
Yeah.
But that particular, I thought, was a good demonstration of how our nation is divided, and we're not talking to one another. When we originally arrived, the people with the American flags, and I'm very patriotic, and I believe, and so it upsets me that the American flag is now seen as war supporters, you know. But they were there first, and so the people in black, we were to come in black, saying, just showing that we were in mourning for the increased war activity in our very hometown, and we all stood way away from them. And finally, I said, let's all move together. We're saying different things, but finally the two groups kind of started. I don't know if you were there during that time, but we all moved up, and so we were all mixed in. And I appreciated the one picture in the paper of the two signs, the flag waver and the liberal sign, anti-war sign. So anyway, It was intended to make the public more aware of the expansion, the particular warfare expansion in our very own bay.
Okay. So if the public's aware,
yes,
then hopefully there's a political solution. Hopefully then people can act through Congress or whatever to generate, to pull out of various conflicts. And
hopefully they will do something then.
Yeah.
They will act.
And I guess my concern is that maybe I feel that the system is really in charge, that it almost doesn't matter who's elected, that the corporations make so much money by being afraid of terrorism, for example. Today is the big threat, and it's an ongoing threat that we know will you know, it's an ongoing war, so we have to keep spending this money and buying these weapons, and there's lots of people getting rich off this, and we'll have less money for social agenda, and so it's, and I don't think these are evil people. I think they're just sort of sucked into that perspective.
I agree.
And so on the one hand, this problem is absolutely monstrous, and yet the efforts that are being made, or the goal of the peace movement, it sounds to me, is kind of just to let people be aware.
Well, yeah, yes and no. I think we're all aware that our democracy is, they're all feeding at the same trough, and that trough is money. And we're beginning to have a democracy that's purchased, not of the people.
Right.
But it's still a democracy, and it can be changed through awareness and through activity, and through the people rising up and doing something about it. One of the
What's the something?
doing something about, okay.
Yeah.
Okay, getting candidates in who are of their bent, and not just voting for names because
Yeah.
they've been there forever and are entrenched in a system of money. We do need to get money out of our political system. The Abramoff scandal recently showed us that. And
Right.
so that should be a first step, so that when we look into our candidates, we vote for candidates and get people running for political offices that really have a belief system that meshes with ours and what we want, with the way we want to see our
Right.
country go.
But you're sounding like you still have faith that you
I
could
do.
elect the right people, and somehow we'd get out of wars and they wouldn't happen, and that
Well-
sort of thing. And I'm pushing, not because I want to put you on the spot, but because, well, I do want to put you on the spot in the sense, because I want at some
course you do.
point there to be, I feel like I have an answer to this deeper dilemma.
I
and-
understand that. And I do have hope. I do get discouraged.
Yeah.
I do think that we're in a very deep valley, and I think it'll take a lot to climb out. But back to your answer.
Yeah.
We had talked earlier that one of the things that I'd like to see us do in the peace movement is sort of cover that gap and bring the two sides, red and blue, at least to a talking point. This nation is so divided that, I know that when I see an American flag, unfortunately, on a car, I know that they're probably voted for the war.
Right.
And I know that when they see my bumper stickers, they get angry. And that's too bad. And I would like to see us talk, which is bringing us to your issue of how to communicate. But one of the, in our local peace movement, one of the things we'd like to do is during Peace Week, which is on the date, on the anniversary of when we went to war in Iraq in March. One of the things I'd really like to see us as a community do is somehow pull a panel together of people from totally opposite spectrums and ideas. I think we have something to learn from everybody. I really, truly, on a gut level, believe that. And if the sides are willing to talk, even if it be about an innocuous thing like, is democracy still really alive, then maybe we can start a communication.
Right. Well, we talked a little bit about this beforehand, and my guest last week was Joseph McCormick, who's doing that for big national figures, bringing them to a retreat center in Colorado. And I brought a list of some of the people that were at his last retreat, the director of AARP, the American Legion, American for Tax Reform, Center for New American Dream, Christian Coalition. He had all the big names are there. Joan Blades from MoveOn.org, Ahmed Yunus, from director of the Muslim Public Affairs Council, Robert Furst, executive director of Search for Common Ground. Here's Sierra Club executive director or deputy executive director, Grover Norquist, president. So he brings together these big left-right people and has a dialogue, and that was actually my last show. And I guess what I'm convinced is that is doomed as a strategy. For one thing, it's a one-off event. You gather these people, they come together, you have this nice time, they feel real good, they talk generalities, they don't talk about the issues, and then they celebrate one another and they leave. And if there were real change to come out of that, and there is real change to the people, I think, it doesn't affect the system. The system is still in charge, with profits at the bottom line taking us to wars on a periodic basis. And I think it needs to be done, and I celebrate it, and I really hope you do that, and it'll be a big success. But to me, there's the missing piece, which is how do you really turn and talk about the issues, and how do you involve everybody?
Okay.
And
well, I'd like to make one comment on that. You made a comment that the people there might be changed.
yes,
And walk away. And each of those people in their own respective groups may have a little bit different dynamics, which of course that spreads. And I'm going back to the wonderful Margaret Mead statement, never doubt that a small group of people can indeed change the world. Indeed, it's the only thing that ever has.
yes.
So it can be done by a small group of people. So then I have a question of you. How then, taking this sort of idea that we're too far divided,
Right.
we, on the different groups, how would you propose then that we can bring them together and have real communication?
Okay, well, I think that's a great, thank you. The Wisdom Council process is designed to do that. And what it would do is that there would be a random selection from the voter rolls, say of the nation. And so we would randomly select on a regular basis, so it's ongoing.
Could I interrupt
Yeah,
here
sure,
just for a
sure.
moment? Could we bring that down to what we're trying to do?
Here in the town, okay.
So let's say the
good.
peace movement.
Sure.
What I was trying to do was get people from absolutely different
Yes.
areas and pull them together.
Okay, so let's do that.
Let's do that.
Take
Let's
that
take
piece.
this.
Let's say you're going to schedule that event.
Okay.
You're
Okay.
bringing these people together, and I think
Yeah.
it's a wonderful thing to do.
Okay,
Before that,
Okay.
however, here's the part that needs to happen.
okay,
Before that, you randomly select 12 people from the community. Let's say it's Port Townsend.
okay,
So those 12 people are randomly, so you get the voter registration roll, and you have a computer generate 12 random names. And before that, you have the mayor say, oh, this is a good idea, we support it. And the Rotary says, yes, we support it. And the chamber says, yes, we support it. And those 12 people meet over a weekend for a day and a half, say, and they choose the issue. They pick an issue that's important to them, and they reach a unanimous, they're facilitated to reach unanimous position on that issue.
okay.
So those people will list, they might, if you were selected, you might say, hey, the war in Iraq. If somebody else was selected, you might say box stores. Somebody else might say no jobs for kids, whatever. But the group would somehow pick an issue or a couple of issues, and then they'd be facilitated to reach unanimous positions. And we've done this many times, and it's not hard to come up with unanimous positions.
Okay, then can I back up one
Sure.
step?
Sure.
Could these, because I'm still back to my trying to bring in
Right.
opposite sides.
Right.
Would your theory work for randomness within the groups?
Well, hang on. We're going to
Okay.
I'm going to get to your position. We're still
Okay.
having this group of the different groups come.
So the Port Townsend, rather than the whole city doing this, the Port Townsend Peace Movement has in effect just gone through the phone book and picked up 12 people randomly.
Well, no, that's not random.
Okay,
That random needs to be
really random.
really random.
Okay.
So
Okay.
if you pick them,
Okay.
it's like a casting call. You really want random, and that's just numerical.
Okay,
And it happens regularly over time. So these people would be randomly selected. They really
Right.
are the community, a microcosm of the community.
right, okay.
And they come up with unanimous statements, and then when they come up on say Sunday night, they finish their statements, they come and they present to this panel
Okay,
their unanimous views and to everybody else invited from the audience as
but
well.
they all came with their own opinions or their own idea for a question. And then of these 12 ideas that these 12 people came with, you're saying that these 12 people will come up with one of those being chosen as the idea to go with. Am
Well,
I
you're-
understanding
you're-
that correctly?
Almost.
Okay,
You're imagining that people will use their judging minds to pick something. The process that I'm imagining doesn't have any judging at all in it.
how do you get a process without judging? I mean, I'm judging right now and you're judging right now.
Right.
We all do this in our heads.
Right.
So,
Well, this is the key piece.
all right,
All right. The best way to reach unanimity
okay,
is to have a breakthrough.
yes,
It's a creative process, a creative leap in the mind. Normal meeting processes eliminate that possibility.
okay, so let's get then down to specifics. We're sitting at a table 12.
Right.
We've asked
then
these
there's
12 to come with a question or an
Right.
idea.
Right.
Okay, so
Well,
now
no,
what
we
do
don't even ask them to come with a question or idea.
Okay.
They just show up.
They just show up, okay, so
And
then,
there's a
the
facilitator.
facilitator, okay.
And the facilitator says, what are some of the issues we might talk about?
Okay, and they all throw them out.
And they throw out possibilities, and they choose one. They might vote. It's okay to vote.
Yeah, okay,
Or they choose a couple, maybe. And then they are dynamically facilitated to reach unanimity on those issues. That is, I don't think we have enough time
Right,
to cover
okay.
that, how that happens.
all right,
But you have to take my word for it that we've done it in the food co-op a bunch of times. We've done
okay.
it 20, 30 times now, and it just isn't a problem.
Okay, so you come up with a unit.
They come up with unanimous position,
Okay,
and pretty much every time we've done it, the people have been excited about the process and excited about their answer. And so they sit on the stage and they say, here's what we came up with, here's where we started, here's where we came to, and we had these shifts, and this is what we came up with, and we all support it, we're all excited about it.
okay. So,
And then they present that to an assembled audience of lots of people with representatives of all these different sides, the left, the right, and so forth. So you can have a celebrity audience there also, who then talk about, this group presents in about a half hour, and then everybody sits in chairs and in circles and talks about, and the quality of conversation now is about real issues, substantive issues, solution-oriented stuff, and it's in a high-quality conversation, even though you've got these diverse people. Because they're looking at real options, and they have this spirit of the communication that happened from this other group. And they're talking, and you look, and then they call out from the room. So let's say it's in a gymnasium or something. Everybody, they call out, what's your group determined? What's your group determined? How many here generally support these ideas? And you get something like 85, 90% of people starting to support these ideas. And the ones that don't are saying yes and. They're not saying no, they're saying yes and. There's this other piece that we need to add. And so the conversation, and then the group that's over for that period of time. And then in 4 months, there's another different randomly selected group come together, a different large presentation. The point is to create an ongoing conversation. Now, after that meeting, people are still talking, and they say, hey, did you come to the meeting, or did you talk about it, or did you see it on TV? Mm-hmm. And hopefully what you have is that it's broadcast on local access television, and people in their churches are gathering and talking among themselves as well, and maybe in the taverns, it doesn't, they can watch it anywhere, and people are talking about it. And so these are people that are kind of representing a voice of we the people, and they can say things like, to the national government, they can say, we are concerned about the nuclear submarines coming and being unloaded, or we're concerned for our safety. They can say national type issues and talk to the state government or the state issues and talk as kind of a unanimous voice of we the people of Port Townsend.
okay, and in what voice, I know you're saying that'd be a unanimous voice.
Yes.
But in what way do you think that is different from any other group that is trying to talk to our government and we have
Right.
a lot of groups trying
Right.
to talk to our government
Right.
who isn't listening.
Right,
They
exactly.
aren't listening.
Exactly. What we have now is we have a situation where only special interest groups exist.
they've got the money.
Well, no, I mean, in other words,
And the ones that got
even
have the money are
right,
the
but
ones
even
that rise to the
even
top.
the peace movement that considers
Right,
themselves
yes.
a general interest
Yeah.
voice, the system places them in a special interest voice position.
Mm-hmm.
So even though you guys think you're serving the whole society, the system doesn't think so. They think you're a special interest group
Mm-hmm.
doing battle against that highly moneyed special interest group.
Mm-hmm.
And so if you want to get attention to your voice, you have to dress up in clown outfits and dance
Black
in the
or
streets or
whatever,
black or
yeah.
do whatever else, and the
Or
media
signs.
maybe covers you.
Yeah,
But
have buttons.
right, buttons, whatever. And you're all poverty stricken and given up your livelihoods in order to do this work. Whereas the people on the other side are getting paid big bucks to do this work and to have gorgeous offices and big towers and in downtown cities. So it's an unmatched battle. And what I'm saying is to stay in the battle mode can't work. What you've got to do is change the context. And this changes the context.
Well,
So what you're doing is you're creating a general interest voice of we the people, because just by randomly selecting these people, and because they reach unanimous point of view, they are a legitimate symbol of we the people.
but who's going to accept that? I mean, I think, Jim, that your idea is really a nice, idealistic idea.
Keep pushing, we got about 7 minutes, but,
Oh, okay,
so
well,
I'm going to help
yeah,
you over that hump.
It is really a nice, sweet idea. I mean,
Yeah.
it really is, and I
Yeah.
can see where it could work for a lot of things. But we're talking about a pretty substantive thing here to deal with the government.
Right.
When there's a
Right.
voting institution in place.
Right.
And I'm even having a hard time putting my head around
Right.
even something like the peace movement, a very small local group,
Right.
trying to get red and blue together.
Right, it can't be done. What
So
you're
it-
suggesting is
Yes.
much harder than what I'm suggesting. And what I'm suggesting is that the peace movement, instead of trying to do battle against Goliath, that you facilitate instead this whole system conversation. In other words, this is a way to create not a dialogue, a short-lived dialogue between a few representatives of a few special interest groups, but this is a way to effectively involve everybody in town in one conversation that reaches unanimous points of view, or near unanimous points of view.
Okay, so.
Now, if you do that in your town, there is no city council that can stand to that. I mean, the city council is part of it. I mean, they're not going to resist it. They're part of it. They're part of the conversation. The county administrator is part of the conversation. The city administrator. It's all of us taking time out, stepping aside for a minute, and having a visit about what's really going on and what we all really think.
I understand what you're saying, and again, I'll say that this is a very nice thing. It's very idealistic, though, because it seems that I'm trying to put. I mean, I'm a practical, down to earth,
Right.
cut and dried.
Right.
Let's make plans.
Right.
Sort of personality. Although I've got a creative side that's an artist,
Right.
and I'm obviously not totally on the
Right.
ground, but. This plan is a little too vague
Well,
for
okay,
me. Now,
right.
here's where I see it missing.
Okay, good,
Kind of
good, good.
missing.
This is good.
Is that, so we have this group of randomly selected people, and they come up with they do come up with a solid idea.
Yes.
Okay, now they're going to do what with that idea? They're going to go to the city council.
No.
They're, okay, so
No,
they're
they
not
don't.
going to even work
No,
within
no.
this government.
That's right.
They're just going to be
It can't
an
work within the
idea.
government. It can't work within the government.
So then this group in Port Townsend is going to say, okay, we've got a randomly selected group that has come up with an idea. Now, does Squim have an idea that we can get these two idea groups together?
Okay,
Or where are you going with that?
you're imagining that somebody's in charge of this. You're imagining there's somebody sitting in charge. I'm talking about creating the new force that's in charge.
And
In other words, if there truly is possible to
Yes.
be a we the people,
yeah.
that is the authority. If there's a unanimous voice of all of us, that
Who
is
speaks for that voice?
No, all of us. The Wisdom Council does. The Wisdom Council makes a statement
So somebody, okay,
No, all of them, all 12 of the people say they only count if they're unanimous. So this is
I
a
understand
voice,
that.
a unanimous voice of we the people. Now, it only has legitimacy if the rest of us go yes. If everybody else goes yes, then it's a unanimous, the near unanimous voice of the whole town.
okay. And then what do we do with that?
Well, you see,
That's where I'm having
okay,
a trouble.
okay, but now but if you can go that far, that's great. And we've got a few more minutes. But the secret is, if all of us are unanimous,
Yes.
there is no higher authority.
Oh, but,
No, there's no. Listen for a minute.
Okay.
There's no higher authority than all of us.
well, that,
So if, for instance, in the United States, all of us could say,
yes.
gee, the Constitution we've had for 220 years has been great, but it's outmoded. We need to go to a different Constitution. Then we could do that.
Our leader's trying to do that now.
No, well,
I mean, I'm being
rather
a
than
smart
being,
aleck, but
rather
yeah, I
than do
understand
that,
what you're saying.
don't go there.
Okay.
Because this is really a way that we can all take charge of the system.
I will let you know, Jim, I think it's a great idea. But
I'm thinking your process is idealistic and unrealistic. I'm
It's
thinking what you
possible.
have in mind is idealistic and unrealistic. I'm thinking that what this would do is bring some realism to the situation, because this deals with the system as it really is. And it takes much less effort. All you do is start something in motion. You randomly select these people, bring them together, do a little, there's a need for a group of people to go out into the community and link this small group to the larger community. And what you're doing now is no longer is it the armband group versus the flag carrying group, because everything you do is going to be opposed by, as long as you do it within the current structure, you're going to have this adversarial thing, and you're supposed to be a peace group. What this is about is realistically saying, let's really do peace. Let's really structure a whole system conversation that's thoughtful and looks at the real issues, and where we're really seeking what works best for everybody. And if we come up with that, that has power. It could certainly elect or unelect anybody in office. That wouldn't be a problem.
Are we running out of time? Is that why you're looking tense?
Of course. I sure appreciate your pushing me, though. I hope you don't mind the pushback.
No, I expected you to push
thrilled
back.
I'm thrilled to have this opportunity to talk, because I've been sitting on this for a long time, and I see this natural group of people, the peace movement, and they have so much positive energy, and they're doing really good work. But
It's certainly trying, but it's a lot of work.
It's a lot of work. And I think this is an avenue, And so it turns out I'm going to be part of this peace conference, I think, in Vancouver. So maybe there's this prospect of...
Oh, good.
bringing
Well, you'll
that
have to
along.
let me know how that works.
All right. 'cause
And
we
if
gotta
they can
quit.
put their arms around it better than I can.
Well, we've got to go. Well, we're going to keep talking.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Darlene Durfee.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you for inviting me. So,